Dominant society is literally throwing us under the bus by loading up the bus with refugees from anywhere and everywhere. This reminds me of all the Mexicans you see on the buses going out to these agricultural fields to go pick the crops and whatnot. Boy, they sure do love using buses for this purpose, don't they? They love bussing in their buffer classes. So maybe I'll call them busser classes. But brothers and sisters from around the world, this is no joke. It is no joke coming to a black neighborhood near you. Coming there soon. My folks in Houston, my folks in Atlanta, my folks in Baltimore, my folks in DC, Richmond, my folks in Charlotte. Y'all just understand they're going to be bringing these folks right now. Where they're bringing in planes of Mexicans and dropping them off in all these cities I'm naming. And now they're going to be bringing in planes of Afghans and dropping them off in all these cities I'm naming. They ain't waiting for natural population demographic change. They're like, no, we're not leaving anything to chance. Damn fairness and evolution. We are here to make the future that we want to have happen. So just keep that in mind, folks. If you think they have a problem with that, you just wait and see how that goes down. Let's go ahead and get the telephone lines going here. Let me get caller from area code 720. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Clark calling from Waco, Texas.
Clark from Waco, Texas. Turn off your speakers.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I just don't want to hear myself behind you.
Hey, Jason Black, thank you, brother, for taking my call. Yeah, man, I've been listening to you now for a couple years, brother. You absolutely right. You know, it's wash, rinse, and repeat, man. They've been doing this for the last 200 years, man. And if, you know, what's a big shock to me, brother, I come to the realization, man, it's been blacks, the coon class, man, been co-signing this all the live long day, brother. You know, you don't spit nothing but the truth, man. And I'm just shocked, man. Most blacks don't see this.
Well, they will now. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a call from area code 703. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Alexandria by way of Norfolk.
Mike from Alexandria, Virginia. What's on your mind?
So this hits home because I am from Alexandria, and I knew exactly what you said they were going to do. They're going to move them to Richmond Highway. They're not going to move them to where the rich people live in McLean and everything. And I'm also a combat veteran. It's just very ironic that 8 years ago, if they did this, they would have been talking about the threat of, you know, potential terrorists coming in. You know, but that doesn't fit the narrative now, and it just goes to what you say. You know, they play both sides of the story.
Well, case in point here, sides. Very glad you called in about that because for folks who are not familiar with the D.C. area, for people who are not familiar with that area there, y'all got to know a lot of the black folk out there who, when they start getting pushed out of the Capital District in D.C. proper and whatnot, a lot of them got flushed out there to Alexandria. So when you go out there to Virginia in that area there, Alexandria is really where the black folk got moved out to, is what happened. And so now I've been in there and through there many a time. And so now you have a situation where there, and I don't want to say Tyson's Corner because I never really consider that to be, I've always considered that to be gentrified, in my opinion. I've always just considered that to be gentrified.
Completely.
But, because some folks tried to claim it, and I was like, dude, what are you talking about? You know, I'm like, you ain't looked around yet. Negroes love having, if 3 black folk in the neighborhood, they still, you hanging in there, man. No, you're not, okay? There's 3 of you. But that's what you see happening there. So just understand, literally, if they drop 10,000 of them in Alexandria, just think about that for just a moment. Just drop 10,000. And that's very doable, by the way. That would be very, very dastardly, very diabolical. Oh, yeah, and very doable. And I see you all being a prime target. Alexandria would be a prime target. I don't see them dropping them off in Fairfax. I don't see that happening. Because I don't think there's enough housing, to be totally honest. But I do see the air. I probably see between Fairfax and DC proper. But I do see in that Alexandria area and heading out in that way and all that stuff. I can see them dropping a bunch of them out there simply to cut y'all off at that point. So that would be it. The only thing you have left is the black folk in DC in that area, and that's all. Your buffer class would already be brought in. Your buffer class would already be there. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 702. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Jason, this is Les calling from Las Vegas, man.
Les from Las Vegas. What's on your mind?
Well, we already got an article, Jason, coming out of the Business Standard saying that many of the Afghan refugees will be resettling in Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, and Austin. That's what they're saying. They're shipping them to Fort Bliss in El Paso, and they're saying that they're getting ready to set them up to resettle in Texas.
Yeah.
And the main places they say are Fort Worth, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, and Austin.
And like
30,000 of them.
Now, for folks who don't go to Texas and whatnot, and Texas is a gigantic place, by the way, but, if you go down there, Corpus Christi, Fort Hood, you got a sizable black population there because of the military base. I can see a bunch of them getting dropped off there. I can just see that happening. I can definitely see it. Right now, they're getting ready to set up that rail line between Dallas and Houston. So that would make it easier for black folk to get around, but it would also make it easier for these new folk to get around here. So just understand, yeah, I can see that. I can see that happening. Texas is a place they want to make sure gets destabilized. And, that's going to be the thing to take a look at. That's going to be the thing to take a look at. I agree with you totally. And it's just go ahead and name off any place with like Galveston, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio. I bet you they ain't going to send them to El Paso. Now, I bet you they won't be making a beeline to drop them off there. I wonder why. I wonder why not El Paso or those places near the border. I wonder why not. I for some strange reason, I have a sneaking suspicion that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that Texas has always been Texas has always been the eye of the Democrat, and they want these people. I really feel they want to take over Texas. Once you can take over Texas, you pretty much can run the United States, and I think that's been the Democrats' goal. And to flood, they want to replace blacks any way that they can, and Texas is to me is their goal.
Well, it certainly will
these
preclude
people,
us from having a foothold there because, like I say, Texas has never really been a stronghold for black people in that way. But as a city-by-city strategy, now don't think of it as a state strategy, brother. Think of it as a city-by-city strategy. So this would be a perfect way to help destabilize that population in some of these cities. Because once cities start going a certain way, that's what pulls states a certain way. Atlanta is what's been pulling the state of Georgia, to go blue and towards Democrats. So Atlanta's what's been fueling that. So if you can drop enough of them off in a place like that and stop what's happening in a city, think of it in that aspect. They're just parachuting in and dive bombing people into specific cities for the purposes of diluting those numbers and populations there. So in Texas, black folk are getting hit with a double whammy. You got the Mexicans coming up from south of the border, and now they're flying in Afghans. Know who they ain't flying in?
Yeah.
Haitians, Jamaicans, Nigerians, even them. A few coons being sent to D.C., but they're not airlifting them in by the plane full. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 818. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name's Sean, calling from Chicago.
Sean from Chicago, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I just want to say fuck all these crackers and all that shit. And they have my throat up here. Like they trying to get me locked up. They calling false claims on me.
Okay, sir, you were asked to call in, were you not?
Yeah, I just called in, yep.
Okay, why did they ask you to call in?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
But I need to call in, though, because like I said, they had my neck up here in Chicago. Like, they trying to put false charges on me.
Here's all I want you to do. Take the day off from commenting in the chat room. Okay? Just take the rest of the night off.
Right.
Everybody, I know it's getting late. They getting their drink and their drugs. I get it. Caller from area code 330. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing, Jason? This is Jay from Akron.
Jay from Akron. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I actually just think you hit the nail on the head a minute ago. As we've seen, they're not taking any immigrants from anywhere in the diaspora, anywhere in Africa, regardless of its natural disasters, tyrannical governments, gangs, whatever it is. They're not taking them. They, in fact, Biden and Kamala Harris told them to stay away. End quote. Stay away as far as you can.
They sent the Haitians back.
They
sent the Haitians back. I posted a story on Facebook. They grabbed the Haitians and sent them back. So much for you can't you can't deport them all. Well, when it comes to black folk, y'all figured out a way to do that.
They figure out a way to do it. Absolutely. And the average black person at face value is like, yay, we're getting these Afghans away from a tyrannical government. Most black people, me included, never want to see someone get harmed in that way. But most black people also don't know the idea of the preferential race-based immigration policies that this country has always had, and our immigration quotas that specifically barred and banned black people from coming here and increasing our numbers as well too. So I just think we need to understand as a group the fake coalitions that the Democrats attempt to put before us to say, I think Joe Biden mentioned it before again also that, you black people are going to have to start working with the Hispanics.
Can you imagine this one? First, he's going to tell us we have to work with the Hispanics, and then they're going to tell you got to work with the Hispanics and the Afghans now. Now we can't do no reparations right now. We got the Afghans got a real crisis. By the way, remember what I told you all at the beginning of all this. Remember, I said it then. Remember when I told you that Biden's strategy is just to invoke one quote crises after another. One after another, for the purposes of deflecting away from the issue of what needs to be done for black people. And so far, they've run the gamut of everything. LGBT, Asians, pandemics, now Afghanistan, where nothing was wrong, and then in 1 week, then turned it upside down. Anything and everything to change the subject off of us so we can have more and more, just one crisis to another, so they can say, well, we can't deal with y'all right now. I got bigger things going on, so we got to do this over here right now, you see. And that's what he's going to keep doing. They're really testing to see whether or not we're going to change the subject. So let me be very clear in what I'm going to say here tonight. I am not concerned about any of these other issues. Those take a back seat. Those hit the back burner. Very sorry about what's happening in Afghanistan. Cut the check. Yes, the pandemic.
Jason, can I say one more thing?
Pass me my cold pills and my Theraflu and cut the check. That is the only issue on the agenda.
Absolutely. Can I say one more thing, Jason?
Hurry.
Okay. As soon as I saw those planes land with those Afghans, the very first thing I said was, "Where's my damn check?" And then the second thing that I said was, we cannot form coalitions unless we have the apparatus to punish anyone that we say that we want to partner with. Be one, brother. Thank you for the night's broadcast.
Black First, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 504. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Charles Jr. from New Orleans.
Charles Jr. from New Orleans. What's on your mind, brother?
What I want to say is that you're absolutely right. Black people shouldn't be concerned with this Afghanistan situation. Like, yeah, it's sad, but we got our own issues down here. And as I'm watching, like, the Afghans, like, try and get on that plane, they had to be like, you know what, this is certain death, that I'm on the back of this plane, and I'm trying to hang on, and I'm going to fall to my death. Well, if it's certain death from a plane, you might as well just stay in your country and try and fight for it. But we can see that they're cowards and they don't have any scruples about them. So
And now they're here.
Death and come over here.
And now they're bringing them here. I'm just saying, take a look at those are the guys who wouldn't fight for their own lives over there. You think they're going to fight white supremacy over here? They weren't willing to fight the Taliban where they belong at. They are citizens of Afghanistan. Their entire history and lineage is in Afghanistan, and they was damn quick to want to run and jump out the damn country. In one evening, they were willing to abandon their whole damn country. You think they're going to come over here and fight white supremacy? Get real.
Yeah, exactly. One more thing, Jason. What I want to say is that not only should we like, share, and subscribe to your broadcast, but we should be out there in the streets and be parroting your talking points. That's all I want to say. Be one.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get call of area code 571. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Shakir. I'm calling from Arlington, Virginia.
Shakir from Arlington. What's on your mind?
Brother, you're right. This pandemic has changed my shopping habits. Now I only shop at the grocery store. I'm talking about the Giant where I live. I'm surrounded by Latinos and some Ethiopians, and they all have these little restaurants. And if they're depending on me to support them, then they're just out of luck. Because this pandemic, as you once said, has changed my shopping habits. I don't even patronize these people anymore. I mean, and it's a good thing for me because I feel like that since I'm doing it, I'm saving more money. You know, I just don't be bothered with them. And to answer your earlier question about would I take out one of my relatives, this, that, and the other, of course I would. And the reason why I say that is because, like in The Godfather, when he killed his own brother, he had to do it. You know, if I'm down with the group and they see I'm weak like that, then they might have to take me out. You understand what I'm saying? It's just that simple.
I agree.
And
thank you very much for giving us a call tonight here. Folks, make your calls brief now. We got a bunch of folk on the line here, although there is a good point that was made about that. You know, could you imagine falling off that plane like that? I mean, I want you to think about that for a few moments, but I also want you to think about something else. Think about being the pilots on that plane, you know, knowing that there are people hanging off the plane. They got pictures of them hanging on the engines and stuff, and the plane still took off, knowing that taking off was going to mean death for any of these people hanging on the plane. Think about that for a few moments. How many of you would have been able to do that? How many of you, if you were the pilots of those C-17 cargo planes, that C-17 cargo plane, with those folk hanging on the side of that plane, hanging up under it, folks got crushed up under the wheels, by the way. How many of you, knowing this lumbering behemoth is rumbling its way down the runway with people under the wheels, people on the wings, how many of you would still have been able to make that plane take off, knowing that your actions were going to be certain death for the people hanging on the side of that thing? How many of you would be able to sleep at night and be able to follow through with that? And I just want you to understand that's the military that you're dealing with here. I want you to understand that's standard operating procedure. That is what you're up against. Caller from area code 773. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Bill calling from Chicago.
Bill from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Yes, I was just thinking about the point with the Taliban, and I totally agree with what they're doing. And now I'm just thinking about black folks over here in America to do that same purge, to which, if you ask me, it would be an impossible, because even if we did try to implement that, we would get punished for even trying to do that. And the only way to do something like that with the Taliban doing is that we would have to have our own country.
Okay, well, let me go a little bit further here for you, okay? Let me remind you of something. Because, see, this is where strategic thinking comes in here. Strategic thinking comes into play when you realize that white supremacy has always, always, always maintained a posture that chaos gives opportunity. And I want you to think about that for just a few moments here. I want you to think about that. And the reason why I want you to think that over is because I want you to realize that after George Floyd was killed, what happened across the country? What happened in various cities like Atlanta? What happened in those places? Well, what happened was black folk rose up. Black folks said defund the police and whatnot, and that's what you have right now. And what needs to happen here is you need to have an attitude that this presents opportunity is what you need to have. What I'm saying right now is, let's be very, very clear. The police in most of these places are willing to sit up here and tell you, oh, we don't run the joint. They're going to be real quick to tell you, oh, we don't run the joint. And instead of us sitting up here saying, okay, let's figure out how to get them back in place. No, they're not in power like they were. They're not running things like they were. They're on the defense. They're on the defense. And what I'm saying is we need to make some decisions about what the new order should be. Because right now, them guys ain't got the grip they used to have. The question needs to be, what will the new order be? Don't see this as a problem. Take a look at this as opportunity, because I guarantee you that's the way the white supremacists are seeing it. They see everything. Where you see chaos, they see a scramble. Like in football, it's a scramble for the ball. Just understand, that's the way they see this. So they're already asking, well, how can we use this to our advantage? Because how do we resolve the chaos in a manner which puts us in charge? Because during chaos, nobody's in charge. And it's really going to be up to who's got the guts to go grab it. As black folk, that's where we're supposed to be.
And yes, and I understand exactly what you're saying, TVA. And what I'm worried about is that thinking is about time that manifests itself, we would be in the grave. And we don't know what the outcome would be of just year after year, decade after decade. And by the time we come to that, they still implement what they're doing right now. Coons and traitors and so on and so forth.
Well, they're going to continue doing that. I mean, that's not a deterrent. That's not a deterrent. I mean, they've had coons since 1619. I mean, that's not a deterrent. The most powerful thing that we can have right now is an agenda. And what I'm telling you is I don't think it's as hard as you're saying it is there, because, and I can understand why you would think that, but understand something. This is something that's been building up now for decades. And really, it only takes the right event to make things go a certain way. Our job is to make sure we prep the ground and prep the people so that when these things happen for the first time ever, they don't have this shock reaction to it. They have the correct reaction to it. But right now, believe it or not, this is as prime an opportunity as we've seen. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 551. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
How you doing, Jason? Good night. This is Alex with the Jersey City, New Jersey.
Okay. I don't know if you're driving in a rainstorm or whatever, but there's a lot of background noise going on behind you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm driving a box truck right now.
Okay.
I just called to say...
He's going to need to give us a call back here because I'm barely able to make out what you're saying. But thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 808. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Jason, this is D from Honolulu.
D from Honolulu, what's on your mind?
Man, so white supremacists right now, I think they're also facing a problem because we're not the same as what we used to be. We're not, ever since last year, ever since the uprisings and everything, we're not going back to just sitting down being afraid. It's totally different now. So they can bring all these people over here if they want. Only issue is that, with them being as hostile as what they are, It's just not going to go down the same way that they think it possibly would.
Well, certainly their goal is to bolster their political and economic numbers. That's the real thing, is to bolster their numbers. So you need a ready-made population that's willing to come in and just from day one get down with the program. So really, and of course, all of this usually ends up being a physical threat to you, absolutely. But what they're looking at is the socioeconomic impact of doing so. So what do we do about this? What Dr. Claude Anderson has always taught us and whatnot, this isn't really about giant population numbers. This is about who is the most cohesive, who's got the strongest agenda. That's what this is really about. White folk are not a majority of the population on the planet, okay, technically on their way to not being a majority of the population of America, at least as far as Anglos are concerned. So as their numbers are getting lower, what they're doing is saying, what can we do to permanently cement the Anglo agenda into the fabric of America? That's what the real goal is now. As the Anglos begin to diminish into a minority, how do we cement the Anglo agenda into the fabric of a country that is no longer majority Anglo? And we need to start saying, okay, how do we cement our agenda in Dallas, in Atlanta, in Richmond, in Detroit, in DC, in Houston, in Galveston, in New Orleans? And first and foremost, it starts with the idea that, yes, you say black first, but the coons got to get up out of there. It has to be open season. It has to be very overt. It has to be spoken openly that they are no longer welcome. They're no longer allowed. And we're not going to sit up here and go along with it. First and foremost, and the thing that really changed things, George Floyd is not what changed it, brother. What changed it is all these old niggas got run up off the block is what happened. We need to understand that. The critical pivotal moment was after Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown, when the so-called clergy tried to show up and the young folk went ahead and told them, okay, y'all got to hit the bricks. Y'all got to hit the road. We're not having it. Y'all are not going to come here and calm everybody down, which is what you've been doing now for decades. That was actually the critical moment. That was actually the pivotal moment that everything turned on. Everything since then has been a reverberation of that event, of that new practice. When the clergy shows up, we shut them down. Nobody's here to hear what you got to say. It's like, we're not even letting you speak. You're not being given a place to speak. You're not being given a place to talk. We're not letting you speak. You've had 5 decades now to demonstrate what you can do, and all y'all did was call the very same politicians out here allowing us to get hurt and killed. You all were buck dancing for them. That's where the real change happened. Everything else has just been a result of that. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a call from area code 609. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Zay from Trenton.
Okay, you're mumbling badly. Give you one more try.
No, I'm not. I'm talking clearly. Can you hear me?
Okay. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Zay from Trenton.
Okay. Is that Jay from Trenton?
Yeah.
Okay, Jay.
Okay, but anyway, I was calling to say to you, like, I have a hard time trying to communicate this type of information to people, like, especially in my age group, in their, early 20s or even, teens. You got the whole LGBT, the people who associate with, I would say, white culture. If you even talk about the premise of the Taliban being a group of people that don't and won't allow white supremacy to take over, have a heavy influence over their country, they're calling you xenophobic, racist, it's just crazy. Like, you can't even communicate with anybody. It's like you find yourself somewhat alone, other than, like, our group here, B1 family and everything like that. It's very hard to communicate to other black people.
Well, you don't have to drag everybody along with that, and I'm not even a fan of doing so. The real thing is finding who's on the agenda. And if the folks you're dealing with are not on the agenda, just be glad that they've exposed their base motives for what they really are, so that you can deal with some folk who are straight and are on code about that. But be very, very vigilant about that. Our job is just to identify who's really with us and who isn't. Once we've done that, it's a wrap from there. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get a call from area code 504. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm Marie from New Orleans.
Marie from New Orleans. What's on your mind?
I can't help but to think, looking at the Afghans, I just recently discovered Dr. Clark Anderson. He did a lecture, and me in my mind, I'm thinking that it's recent, but it's like over like 20 years ago. And he said this was going to happen. And I just remember being so frustrated because he was like, America has this agenda of flooding immigrants in the country to keep the issues from being black and white. He was like, you're going to have a problem with the Hispanics. And I'll be damned if it's not, if it hasn't happened. And now you have the Asians, and now you have the Afghans. And he was like, you're going to have to go through all these groups, to get your issues resolved. And it's just to drown us out. That's the point I wanted to make. Like what he said back in the 90s and 80s is coming to fruition. That's all I wanted to say.
You're referring to Dr. Claude Anderson's historic speech of that, I want to say it was at Trinity. A vision beyond the dream. And he was saying that, the agenda is to flood the zone with these immigrants for the purposes of diluting the population and whatnot so that they can do what they really want to do, which is to ignore black people. We're moving beyond benign neglect now. We're moving beyond benign neglect. We are now just moving to wholesale, societal engineering at this point. That's all. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 832. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, then this is Reginald from Houston.
Reginald from Houston, what's on your mind?
What's on my mind is this is to me, it's I'm seeing this all over again. When I was in the 7th grade, they were letting all these Vietnamese come over, and then they let them all in the black neighborhood. And I'm like, who's on the board of these people that decide on? Okay, we're going to put them over here, over there. And I know there has to be a black person because white people, they got to have a black person to blame it on.
No, at this point right now, brother, this is just government policy now. It doesn't even this didn't require a vote. It doesn't require approval at the local level like that. They're literally just bringing them in here now. Like with the Mexicans at the border, they're literally just bringing them over on planes and dropping them off in cities. Literally. They're literally grabbing the Afghans and dropping them off in cities.
Why do they have to always drop them off in black neighborhoods? They don't go, like you said, I don't see them in River Oaks. I don't see them in Spring Branch. I don't see them in those affluent neighborhoods. They always come to black neighborhoods. So somebody, it's like, hey, man, Houston is big. How do you know where the black neighborhoods are? Somebody got to tell you where to go. But what I'm saying is like this here is like they have black people on these boards say, okay, look, man, we'll send them over there. You can send them over there, yeah. And so, like, when you say, like, do we need to be held accountable? Do certain people amongst us need to be held accountable, like Sheila Jackson and all the other people? Yes. There needs to be some type of tribunal because we're not respected. That's why they undermine us, because...
Well, here's my real thing about it here is it is easy to call out, the Sheila Jackson Lees and the Jimbo Jangles Clyburns, and they should be. By the way, those are your elected representatives. But just understand, I think one of the lessons we can learn in the events that we've recently witnessed is door to door, because black folks as a group are real good for going door to door for their religious beliefs. They're real good for going door to door if white folk tell them to. But when it comes for our own agenda, we're real good for going door to door for some world star hip hop mess. Something that actually matters, though. And all of a sudden, we're not interested in that. This is something that needs to come from the grassroots. The idea of that and accountability has to come from the grassroots. The politicians respond when they see you got the grassroots shook, and when they see you got the grassroots changing and getting on code. There's where it really starts from. So it's not so much about Sheila Jackson Lee, it's about your cousin Sheila and your Uncle Jackson. That's where it really matters. Although I would recommend, start with the young people, because in my opinion, anybody over the age of 30 at the very most, still talking the coon stuff. We can just write them off. And at that point, it's just really about, okay, what do we do about them? But not really about informing them. They've lived long enough to know. They've just decided, well, hell, let me just go along and get along. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now, let me get a caller from area code 917. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello. Yeah, this is Racer Bo from New York, Bronx, New York.
Okay, what's your name again?
Racer Bo.
Racer Bo from Bronx. What's on your mind?
I just want to say it's an honor to speak to you, Brother Jason, and also want to speak on this little Afghan issue. And I want black people to understand that they've been pulling this trick on us for years. As far as every single time this country calls itself going to war with one of these countries, they go to war for a certain period of time, and the next thing you know, within a 5, 10, 15-year gap, they flooding the country with these people to drown us out. So, as far as these politicians, I don't want to hear shit about them not having our money for our reparations when they spent $300 million on this Afghan war a day. So that's all I got to say, Brother Jason. B1, I'm out.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. The truth of the matter is, for those of you who didn't know, some of you may not have been alive at the time, when September 11th happened 20 years ago, folks, in an absolutely skullduggerous, diabolical, devious, unscrupulous tactic, the budget for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are essentially black budgeted. They're not really on the books. And this is not me talking out of turn. Everybody knows this at the Department of Defense and whatnot. It's hard to say how much has been spent in those places because so much of their budget has been categorized basically as black budget. You're not allowed to know. It's not necessary for them to disclose it. They have spent, we estimate, they can only estimate now because that Neely Fuller always told us confusion is how white supremacy operates and hides its hands. We estimate it could be somewhere between 10 to 20 trillion dollars. 10 to 20 trillion dollars. Basically $1 trillion a year. But we don't know. We're not sure. We're not sure. Your news gathering agencies are not sure. That's a gargantuan sum of money. And we'll never really be sure because they weren't actually required to put it on the regular defense budget. So much of it has been black budgeted that we don't know. We do not know. We don't know. Well, now understand something. Do you all understand? It is the Defense Department's budget that is bringing these refugees over here. This isn't something that was approved through your tax dollars. This is the Department of Defense. The president is using war powers as his authority to basically circumvent the Constitution and bring a bunch of people in and make them U.S. citizens just by fiat. He's using war powers for the purposes of circumventing all the necessary laws, rules, regulations, and protocol that's supposed to be followed. He's using the Defense Department's money to charter planes and buses. This is the Department of Defense paying for this. This is the Department of Defense financing this. This is the Department of Defense facilitating this. Your black tax dollars are being used to benefit everybody except you. Is being put out there and expended for the purposes of benefiting everyone except you. And then they're going to tell you what they don't have. They're going to cry poverty when you show up. Now, for the pandemic, they had unlimited trillions to spend. For the Afghans, unlimited trillions to spend. You show up for what you've been owed for 500 years, and all of a sudden, oh, we don't have anything. No, go over there and go shake all them folk you brought over here, shake them down and go get my damn money. Cut the check. Caller from area code 510. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good evening, Jason. This is Black Voltron calling out of Oakland, California.
Black Voltron
out of Oakland, California.
Black Voltron out of Oakland. What's on your mind?
Well, this whole Afghan thing and how it relates to us in the black community. Just going back to your further point, I got a couple. Number one, people concerned about where all these Afghans are going to go. They're already here. They already have a pretty sizable community out here in the San Francisco Bay Area, Northern California, specifically the city of Fremont. They've been here for a while, at least 40 years. So that's nothing new. They're all probably going to gravitate to one area because they want to be around their own kind. It shouldn't be surprising. It shouldn't be, anything that's a secret. They're doing what they're doing. They're staying on their Afghan code. We as black people, we need to stay on our code and stop caping for other races. We are all we got. People are wondering, questioning online, what should we do? How should we feel about them? Me, when I was sitting there last week, or whenever that happened, watching those Afghans get on that, jump on that C-17 and try to hang on for dear life, I'm sitting up here thinking, well, you had the, courage to jump on that C-17, knowing that, this plane's going to be going 500 plus miles an hour and you're probably going to die. But you had the courage to fight them, but you didn't have the courage to fight the Taliban. I gave zero fucks about them. Zero. I watched them fall off that plane, and I didn't give a fuck. Fuck them. That's the type of mentality you have to fight white supremacy. Those pilots have that same mentality. They're going to complete their mission. They're going to do what their commander tells them to do. Fly that damn plane, damn everything else, damn the people on it. If they're on it, shake them off. You, me, everybody who's listening to this chat, we are the individual leaders. Stop crying, stop worrying about what these Afghans going to do. Fuck them. They're cowards. They're not us. We need to concentrate on our B1 agenda. Cut the check. Take care of black issues first. We're not voting for any Democrat or Republican until they take care of black issues first. Damn everybody else. That's what I have to say about it.
Black Voltron calling out of Oakland. Black first, brother. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 313. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Peace, brother. Can you hear me?
Yes. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up? My name is Mel. I'm calling from Detroit. What's good?
Mel from Detroit. What's on your mind?
What's good? Yeah, like just to touch base on what the brother that previously called said. That's exactly what we got to do. We're too concerned about things going on outside of our community when we need to be focused on our community. We need to be focused on strengthening the things that we need to strengthen within our community. First and foremost, last year was just a setup, and they set us up, and all they needed was our vote last year. As soon as they got it, they just said, you know what, fuck you guys, we're going to do what we're going to do. And this has been going on for years. It's like it's a cycle, and we never learn from our mistakes. And we just keep repeating the cycle. What that last brother said is important. Those pilots that were flying the plane, like you said it earlier, the mentality of white supremacy, is what those pilots did. They knew people were on the plane and they still took off. We need that same mentality. This is a war. There's no warrior in war that goes to war and says, oh man, my heart, because of how. Nah, it's either you do what needs to be done or you're not in the fight. So we need to suck it up. We need to do what we need to do, and we need to take care of our community by any means necessary.
Well, and keeping an eye on our agenda is the most important thing we can do. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 702. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Jason, it's Cal in Vegas. I just wanted to say one real quick thing. For all of you people who thought Cori Bush was some sort of new Democrat that, had a black agenda in mind, just take notice of the fact that she is saying that, no matter what, we have to make these people welcome. And most likely they're going to end up in her district and they're going to end up in your neighborhood. And yeah, you voted for her. So remember that come 2022, because, we don't have time for this anymore. And the only other thing I wanted to say was, along those lines, this is our chance right here, right now, to get on code. We don't support anybody. We don't do anything for anybody else. It is about our agenda, staying on code, and like I say, not giving them any more help than they are already getting. And that's it.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 863. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is D from Baltimore.
D from Baltimore. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir, Jason Black. One of the big things I want to point out is not only how they're going to bring them to the black community, as they always do, but to watch out because you got all these black mayors that see dollar signs attached to them, and they already neglect the black people in their own communities. And they're going to be clamoring. So you got the governor mayor has already been begging to bring more Afghans here. We're already getting some, but he wants more. And they always bring them right to Baltimore. And, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying, like, watch out. Make sure you hold your city council people and your mayor's feet to the fire. And be like, no, until you take care of us, you have no business asking for anybody else.
Brother, Baltimore,
brother.
I hate to say it, Baltimore has had an issue getting on code for a while. And they have really your whole your mayor, your city council, that whole damn government there is a bunch of puppets. They really, really are a bunch of shameless ones. At this point here, dude, y'all just need a clean sweep is what you all need. You don't need just one or two. You don't have anybody there who's really serving your interests. Everybody there is a puppet of the establishment. And they just really need a clean sweep. But unfortunately, the team, leadership reflects the team in a lot of cases here now. Baltimore needs to get on code about that and take it seriously. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a call from area code 614. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Caller from 614 has been abducted. Caller from area code 901. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Red out of Memphis, Jason Black.
Red out of Memphis, what's on your mind?
Well, we can't give black people anything because that'll be racist. We can't give one specific group or one specific race no money because that's racist. What about poor whites? Overnight, Joe Biden pulls $500 million out his ass without it being voted on, without it going through Congress. And guess what happened? Plane loads of Afghans on your ass. Oh, we got to get Trump out of there. Trump got to go. This is the most dangerous election in our lives. One Trump deporting the Mexicans, though. One Trump saying, no, get them up out of there. Get the money to the black people. Well, Trump embraced racists and Proud Boys, so he ain't our friend either. So how about this? Let's go back to sleep and let's vote Democrat again. Let's go back to sleep and let's vote Democrat again so we could keep complaining, saying, damn, they're helping everybody else. Damn it, when you gonna take charge and say, fuck, I don't need no leadership. I don't need nobody to tell me to vote Democrat or vote down ballot. I'm voting Republican in spite of these bitches who I'm giving my vote to who not giving me nothing. I'm getting pimped. We are they hoe of this mule of a machine. They didn't give us none last time with Obama. They didn't give us none with Clinton. Clinton actually locked up black people. And we thought Joe Biden was going to be different. And every 4 years, we let the news whip up this damn fake propaganda of a state of emergency like this the most dangerous shit of our lives. Man, cut the noise. Stop playing. And for anybody who say, well, your bread ain't buttered with the Republicans, is your bread buttered with the Democrats? They finna put Rahm Emanuel, the dude who covered up Laquan McDonald's murder, he finna get a significant position.
Yeah, they want to make him ambassador
What
to
is
Japan, I think it is. And I want you all to be watchful of this right now because, you know, in that Memphis area, Memphis is a black city in that regard. And that right now, any majority black area, not even majority black city, but right now, any majority black area is sitting with a big ass target on its back. That's what they're doing. Any place that has a majority black population or a sizable black population, just understand you are in the crosshairs. So be looking for some folks to show up at the port out there by FedEx. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, Red. Let me get a call from area code 804. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Ben, Richmond, Virginia.
Ben in Richmond, Virginia. What's on your mind?
Well, we already have them in Arlington, Virginia. We have them in, let's see, Hopewell, Virginia. And I imagine they're in Richmond. I just can't wait to see the economy that they will artificially build for them. I can't wait to see little Afghanistans, little black towns, while they tell us that they can't do anything for us.
Oh, yeah, they're going to get housing. Just understand what they're going to do is right now you have a, quote, housing shortage, but watch, the government's going to come in, these private builders are going to come in, and all of a sudden they're going to be building a bunch of housing. They're going to be building a bunch of new modern housing, and what do you know? Is going to be housing all of these Afghan immigrants. Watch, it's going to be big enclaves of them and whatnot. Because, brother, remember, like I said, with the Mexicans, they're bringing them here, and they had to give them health care and had to give them, benefits so that they would be economically viable. Well, you have to do the same thing for these other people. In their case, they're going to need shelter because they don't even have a place to go. You're already dealing with a severe housing shortage. So all of a sudden, you're going to see new housing being built, and what do you know is going to be nothing but them sitting in it when they get done. Mark my words.
Oh, absolutely. Not to mention, they'll have their own little cultural centers and things like that. And before you know it, they'll be doing business with their former enemies, the Taliban, overseas. And, it'll be just like the Vietnamese did, just like all the other ones did. They will suddenly become hyper Americans and find the time to look down their nose at black people and act as if they actually earned what it is that they've received.
Oh, yeah. They're going to tell you they earned it. They're not going to mention when they was hanging off the planes. They're not going to mention when they were running out of there. That's going to get totally left out of the discussion. Let them tell it. They came over here and pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. Not going to say anything about the cargo planes, the buses, the refugee assistance, the housing assistance, the free health care. Nothing's going to be said about any of that. And it won't take long either. I mean, give it 10 years. It's not even going to take 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
Give it 10 years, and their version of the story is going to be, we did this all on our own. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 916. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Mr. Black. This is Nala from Sacramento.
Nala from Sacramento. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to call in to say that I work for the county, and our managers let us know that a whole bunch of refugees are coming to Sacramento and to the county specifically. So,
did they tell you how? Did they tell you how many?
No, we didn't get a number. Just she was like, "Oh, it's a whole bunch coming." So just be very welcoming and.
Just a whole bunch. Wow. So in other words, just a blank check. We don't know how many are coming. They just told us a bunch are coming. And in Sacramento. Now, Sacramento is a little interesting. Sacramento doesn't really have a large black population to speak of in that regard.
No.
It doesn't really have a large black population to speak of. But it's not Southern California either. So there has to be a reason why they want to drop them off there, of all places. The only thing I can imagine is, to stabilize that population. Because I think what Tucker Carlson said is very prescient in that regard. I think it's very prescient in that regard. For those of you who missed it earlier, I want to replay for you some comments by Tucker Carlson here regarding the Afghan, soon-to-be here refugees showing up in the hood near you, about what he said about
this
them.
This is what it is. The right wing hates brown people. The only problem is most Afghans are not brown. Your average green-eyed Pashtun is as pale as anyone sitting on the set right now. Essentially, they're bearded white guys. Do the dummies on cable television know that? It's possible they don't know.
So everyone just understand, they got the memo about that. So just understand, if they're bringing in they've chosen the areas they're going to drop these folk off in strategically. They've chosen them strategically. They've chosen them deliberately. And if they're dropping them there, it is because they see a way to utilize that against black people. That there's no other purpose. It serves no other benefit to it. So you all just be watchful in that regard. Apparently, something you're doing must have them worried. Something you all are doing out there must have them concerned. If they see it as necessary to drop a bunch of them there, maybe some metric is moving as far as your income or upward mobility. Maybe there's a bunch of black folk, either leaving the Bay or whatever, going to Sacramento. There must be some migration thing happening in that regard. That might be something you want to take a look into, because if they're doing that, they're targeting you for a reason. If they're sending them there, they're targeting where you are for a reason. They didn't just choose you by accident.
I'll definitely keep my eye out.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Like I say here, folks, if they've chosen your area, they chose you for a reason. They didn't just pick you out of a hat. They picked you because you will serve the cause. Caller from area code 815. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
You're on live, sir. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, yeah. This is T from Rockford, Illinois.
T, what's on your mind?
Okay, so my thing is this. America has always been in pursuit of a cheap labor force, okay? From the slaves, the Chinamen, to the Mexicans, and other European immigrants. Could it be that they're looking for another cheap labor force? And as far as me, my solution is this. If they're looking for a cheap labor force, who does it benefit? Shareholders, investors, and corporate America. So my thing is this. Why not just invest in corporate America? Because if you put your money in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, IRAs, that business does not discriminate. If I put the same amount of money in the Walmart, Target, or let's say Tesla, if I put $100 in Tesla and somebody else put $100 in Tesla, I'll make the same amount of money.
Okay, well, what they're doing there, though, is the reason that they're doing this is because, notice the census numbers just came out here a week ago. We just got the census numbers specifically documenting that the white population is officially falling into minority status. They have the numbers are officially going down, and lo and behold, right after they issue that census, the census comes in. All of a sudden, they start the planes flying in these, as Tucker Carlson said, essentially white guys. Fundamentalists, too, by the way, not just any white guys. I mean, we're talking about white fundamentalists. We're talking about white right-wingers. Right. They're going to be anti-abortion and anti-LGBT and everything else. Certainly, and that always goes with anti-black. See how they treat black folk over there. So I understand what you're saying, right. But the real thing is this is going to artificially, just notice it's no coincidence that the census came in and officially stated and declared that the white numbers are diminishing. Next thing you know, here comes plane loads, as many of them as they can grab from around the world. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 973. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Okay, caller from area code 973 is doing his heroin. Caller from area code 614, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good evening, Mr. Black. This is Justin out of D.C.
Justin out of D.C. What's on your mind?
A friend of mine and I, we saw the screenshot out of CNN, and we were just like, yeah, of course, they're going to come to PG County. or Baltimore. There have been talks of trying to get Kwesi and Fume out of his seat in Baltimore and funding a independent black candidate. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Kwesi has been a useful tool now for 30, 40 years now. I mean, he was there when I was in school. So he's really just there to fill the seat. He'll do whatever. I mean, he's just an empty suit there who's just placed there, and that's all. The real thing about it is in bringing in these Afghans into that area there, that is what you're going to see is what I've been telling folk here. This dovetails with everything I've been telling you all now for the last month or so. That you're witnessing is the Democrats are saying that black folk are the problem. Being woke is the problem. Being left-wing is the problem. But whenever they keep talking about those things, the only left-wing, quote, woke issues they have an issue with are the ones that involve us. That's amazing. So when they say left wing, they start talking about black issues. When they say woke, they talking about us. So this is really about getting them to neutralize that. You're going to start seeing the Democrats openly starting to champion positions that used to be solely Republican, or at least traditionally identified as Republican positions, is what you're going to be seeing. And they're going to be trying to appeal to that Asian, Latino, Afghan vote. Is what you're going to be having right there. So you're going to see them just wholesale. Biden wasn't kidding when he said up and said, y'all going to have to work with y'all going to vote with Latinos and get them on your side. That's the strategy going forward. They are foot to the floor now, especially with the census telling them that their numbers have officially diminished. Brother, I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm not joking when I say that. I've warned people for years that, they always ask me, well, Jason, how are you so sure that the census numbers are accurate? I'm like, I assure you they are accurate, because how else would they be able to know that their plan is working if they didn't go around and get an accurate count of it to make sure it's working? They know that they're emptying out the black population in the areas they want to because they went and counted and see, the numbers are going like they're supposed to. Now, in this situation here, their numbers are going down. So now we see what the plan is. It's no coincidence. It is no coincidence that as soon as those census numbers came in, next thing you know, screw it, we're bringing in plane loads of them, bus loads, truckloads, anything from south of the border, anything from overseas, anything that puts a buffer between us and the black folk. It's not a coincidence. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get area code 913. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
How you doing, JB? This is my name is Damon. I live out of Kansas City.
Damon in Kansas City. What's on your mind?
How you doing, sir?
Okay, now is that Kansas City, Missouri?
KCK, man. Why not? I'm from the dot.
All right, thank you. And what's on your mind?
But once I saw that scene from Afghanistan, I'm like, damn. Most of us who deployed, at least to Iraq and Afghanistan, I haven't talked to any of my other friends or anything from the military, but that's kind of disappointing. All the shit that we did out over there, it's crazy. And then I had a question. You was talking about a specific politician, and he's a puppet. So how do we find out who's the puppet master? And I'll take your answer off the line.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. I mean, you don't really have to. I mean, of course, it is any of the dominant political establishment that those are the puppet masters. Period. But the real question is circumventing that, because instead of running around trying to investigate those things, just remember, if you choose your politicians instead of letting your politicians be chosen for you, then that's what makes a difference. The issue that we have is the reason why we can't trust our politicians, because they're not our politicians. They are some other group's politicians. They were chosen for us and foisted on us. But if we do the choosing, if we pick them from the grassroots, if we do that, then those are politicians you can control. And you can trust them because you chose them. They weren't given to you by somebody else who's going to be having their fingers all over them and controlling them for you. So the first mistake we need to stop making is stop letting the political establishment choose our candidates. Don't let them choose the candidates. Don't let them pick the agenda. Don't let them decide what the narrative should be. Don't let them choose the topic of conversation. We need to control that. And once we control who picks them, then things are going to be different for us. Gonna take one more phone call here. Let me get caller from area code 817. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Chris from North Lake.
Okay, Chris from North Lake. Where, sir?
North Lake, Texas.
Chris from North Lake, Texas. What's on your mind?
Hey, JB. I got a question for all of these Biden voters. These Biden voters. I want these Biden voters to ask all of these nominees, these people that they voted for, what's the difference in the living standards in between Afghans and Black Americans?
I don't think you could get them to be able to decide that either, for the most part. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Folks, like I say, my job, my function is to be able to predict these things for you and to tell you what you're going to be up against. It is everybody else's job. After that, once you have the actionable information, you go from there. I've told you don't trust the old niggas. They are just looking for a peaceful death. I've told you not to trust the political establishment. They are here to sell you out. I've told you not to trust the white supremacist media. They are here dedicated to mislead you. And I've told you to trust in each other. And now having a solidified agenda is more important than it has ever been. Period. End of discussion. And there's a lot we can learn here. There's a lot we can learn about how you operate under the spoils of war. There's a lot we can learn here. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the haven of intelligent black thought. We do this every weekend, and we're very glad to have you all with us here joining us. Over 126,000 subscribers and rising. We are not a little thing. Please make sure that you share the program because YouTube has us under a shadow ban. Likes are nice, but YouTube has blocked us in the algorithm. They do not share us. They do not recommend us. But with your help, we can make sure that we defeat that little tactic of theirs. So if they won't share us, that's fine. You make sure you do so. This is a necessary national conversation for us to have. And this is the place where it is handled competently, intelligently, and effectively. So click that red subscribe button so that we can count you amongst our numbers. Click that yellow notification bell and make sure you choose all notifications. And make sure you check your subscription status to make sure that YouTube has not involuntarily unsubscribed you. They frequently do that. And if you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go to our website and check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m. Gentrified Race War, all available on Amazon, on DVD, and for streaming. Go to blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal or Cash App. Thank you very much for your support. We will see you all here again tomorrow night. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, Black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.